I'd say we're well over halfway through this build with both front and rear assemblies pretty much complete. We'll stick with the front end though with bag I, where we'll prepare the steering assembly. Okay, so we'll crack straight on with the steering assembly, bag I. Everything we need is included within this bag, including the Ackerman plate, which does provide some customizability. Anyway, let's get this together. Start with the first bell crank here and insert a bearing into the top and bottom of the arm, before inserting a bushing from the top, and then securing the metal plate to the underside of the bell crank's arm with a 10mm button head screw. Use a wrench to hold the bushing as you tighten the screw until snug. Notice the orientation of the plate here, which you'll need to copy if keeping a stock setup. Also ensure the metal plate moves freely. We now need to build the other side of the bell crank with a servo saver. So start with these two pieces here, place them together, and insert the longer piece from the top straight through. Push until it fits flush with the top. Next we can insert a spring from the bottom, and secure into place with a collared nut, complete with an O-ring inserted and in which you'll want to apply a little thread lock first. You'll find this much easier using the Tekno 17mm wheel wrench here in order to tighten the nut all the way down so that the spring is fully compressed, and with full compression, loosen off the nut 2 full turns to achieve the optimal position. With servo saver built, again we need to add a bearing to the top and bottom of the arm, along with a bushing into the top, after which we can secure to the metal plate with the second 10mm button head screw. Once complete, your servo saver should look like this. Now we need to build our steering links, again starting with some grease on the turnbuckle threads and screwing into the rod ends just as before. These ones need a 28.75mm gap between rod ends. With both built, we can insert the pivot balls into each rod end. And going back to our steering assembly, we need to attach the steering links, again making sure to orientate them so that the notch faces to the left side. Start with a 20mm cap head screw, drop on an 8mm washer, the first link with the notch facing left of course, then drop on another 8mm washer, before feeding through the front hole of the Ackerman plate, and tightening into a lock nut. Repeat the same on the opposite side. We then want to insert this single 18mm shock mount screw into the assembly arm. It's not securing into anything just yet though, we're just getting it in place for use later, since it will be much harder to install later on in the build. So with that done, we can proceed to insert a bearing into the top and bottom of each bell crank. And that brings us to the end of our steering assembly build, and bag I is now complete. Again, make sure everything is nice and free. The next step is to get this attached to our front end assembly as well as onto the main chassis, and we'll do that with the next kit bag.